Welcome to the Vendetta Effect.
Oh, I hope you're ready for this. It's gonna hurt and I know that. So I hope you're ready for this. I've got a secret to keep. You're only getting the way. I hope you're ready for this. So here's your ticket to hell. I'll never give you a chance to say I'm ready for it. I'm gonna bury you deep so I can push you away.
Welcome back to the Vendetta Effect, and this week it's just me. So, the reason for that is we were supposed to have a recording with Em. We were supposed to do one of our great deep dives, talking about characters, talking about her experience with D&D and with role-playing, and we did a great recording session last week where we talked about all these things, and I thought it was tremendous. We had lots of fun. Em was wonderful, and I made a mistake of not recording her voice. So I have a great recording of me talking and not a great recording of her talking, which is slightly problematic, not going to lie. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to revisit kind of where we're at right now with the series, where we're going over the next year, so you kind of have an idea of what's coming down the pipe. This channel will have some interesting new content coming starting next week and going forward for the next few months, at least until December, and then we'll talk about what comes after that. So let's start off, I guess, by first talking about how Vendetta Effect went. I love Season 2. Season 2 has been great. A little shorter than Season 1, but I think it was really well served by the storylines. I think it was a tighter plot, in part because of that, and we didn't get into sort of distracted stories that didn't necessarily help move the plot forward. But I think at the same time it gave our characters a bit of opportunity to grow. You know, we met new people along the way. I think that was fun. And I think genuinely it was a very good series this year, and I look forward to continuing next year. So FYI, Season 3 of Vendetta Effect confirmed. It will come starting in May again, probably mid-May to late May again, and it'll run pretty much mostly through the summer. That's what I can confirm about Vendetta Effect. We will definitely be having a Season 3. I don't know if we'll have a Season 4 or if we'll end it there, because we will have moved it far enough forward that it'll start to run into Fate of Heroes' actual storyline from the prequel stuff that we did for Zoe. And whether I want to do that or I want to just avoid that altogether, I'm not fully sure yet. We'll have to cover that off once we get there, but we're a long ways off from recording anything to do with Vendetta Effect for Season 3, and I haven't even thought about the plot quite yet fully. I have an idea of where we're going, but not fully how we're getting there. So that's one of the things that we need to work through. And once again, like we've done in the past with Season 2, there will be a time jump as well, so there will be a bit of that as well to get used to. So all of that will happen and will be coming out, like I said, next year. Generally, with Vendetta Effect, we try and record it throughout the year. That got a little compressed this year just due to scheduling, and try and get a bunch of it done in ahead of time. So I think this year I'm going to try and do some recording ahead of time to get us kind of in advance of things, just because I don't like recording podcasts in the summer. I find it difficult to get everybody coordinated. I have trouble because I have things I'm doing. So it's just easier for me to record in the fall, the winter, and the spring, because those are months where, well, in this part of the area where I live, you don't want to go outside half the time anyway. So there is that. Now, coming next week, we are starting a new series. It is a supernatural series being DM'd by Rob. So this will be the first recording session you'll hear of him as a dungeon master, as far as I'm aware. And that'll be starting up soon. It is the longer series, probably about 12 episodes. I'm not exactly sure how long it'll actually be in the end. It depends on how much recording gets done. But that series is pretty fun, pretty exciting, has a lot of crazy characters and a lot of familiar voices in it. I am, however, not involved in that series at all, not even in editing, so I will be like you, I'll just be a listener to the series. That starts next week, so the 25th will be the first episode from that series, and then that will go until sometime into I think, the beginning of November, at which point a new series, this time DM'd by Tamara, will go on, and we'll have a few different voices in that series, which I'm kind of looking forward to. I am involved a little bit in that one, and I'll be curious to see how she does with that. It's going to be a short, month-long series, just as a way for her to dip her toe into the DMing world, and also a way for a few of the other people involved to dip their toe into it, and it'll be fun to sort of see how everybody gets along, because I think at the end of the day that is a big part of this, and I think it'll be very curious to see how we do with it. So we'll be recording that soon, and like I said, it'll go out the month of November into the first week of December, I believe. But we'll see how that goes. If not, we'll just move things around and jimmy things up a bit. But that's kind of where we're at the minute. I haven't even recorded the series yet, so I don't even know how it's going to work quite yet. And beyond that, then we enter into Fate of Heroes Season 4, and that starts at the beginning of December, roughly around the time, I think the week after, or the week of our live stream, I believe. I might try and push it to the week after for a few reasons, which I'll explain here. One thing about that is the new season will be shorter, obviously. We had a very long Season 2, which started, I think, at the end of... I think it started at the beginning of June, and it went all the way till May. And that felt super long, and I think it made the story drag a bit. Season 3 was much tighter. We went from September to May. But even then, we still had problems with some people couldn't show up on some things. We had some cross-recordings we had to do with various people, like Steph Runa, who was involved in the end of the season, and we had to get her in, and that made things a little tricky. And some of the storylines crossed over in funny ways. So we had a lot of this kind of nonsense going on, and we kind of had to fit everything in. And I always find that the spring, it's hard to get recordings completely right, just due to scheduling. So luckily, this time around, we're going to record on a tighter timeline. We're not doing loads of episodes this year. We're going to do around 20 episodes of Fate of Heroes Season 4. It will start in December and end in the probably mid-May range. And when that ends, that will be the end of Fate of Heroes, the story. The podcast itself will remain called Fate of Heroes going forward, but I may revisit that idea later. But for the most part, most of the series reflect some aspect of it, at least the ones I'm DMing, the main series on the channel. But if that starts to change and we start to have a different dynamic with the channel, if we get more of like Rob and Tamara's, like the one thing I've told both of them, if they want to continue their series, they're more than welcome, and they may end up on different days and there will be more content on this channel. But if that becomes a case where they're taking over more and more, I may actually move the channel name to kind of match up with that. But for now, it's going to stay Fate of Heroes. I think it's a good trade name, and I think it's a good marker of who we are. And maybe one day we'll come back to the overall story of Fate of Heroes, but we're going to move on in the fall of 2019 from that. So that's the other important note. In the meantime, in the summer of 2019, we will be back with Vendetta Effect Season 3. As I said, that may also be the final season. For various reasons, I think I want to shift kind of storylines away from this storyline. I think the arc is pretty done for both series. And I took a long, hard look at it over the last 6 months, trying to evaluate whether going forward it made sense to continue the series and how far I wanted to get to. And I just came to the conclusion that we've gotten pretty far with the series in the last year. And I think it makes sense to wrap up Fate of Heroes this year, because I think largely the goals of the series will have been reached. And really, I don't think it's fair to the characters to continue to put them in the same jeopardy over and over again. And we could move forward in time and have different characters involved, but then that gets into areas I'm not really familiar with, and not enough really where I want to go, so I want to kind of get away from that. And in the back burner, I've had bubbling this idea about something called the Rock of Cairbrain, And I haven't really talked about it in depth. I'm probably not going to talk about it in depth here, but just to kind of give you an overview of that series. It will be more fantasy elements to it. It will be less about superheroes and more about fantasy type genre. It will have a very different feel, a different location. It won't be on Earth. And there will be a very much magical element to it. So there will be those kind of things. So it'll be more like a traditional RPG, but there'll always be tweaks to it because it's me. It's not going to be exactly the same. I'm probably going to start, because I've been working for the last 6-8 months on kind of the background story. And since I originally came up with the idea of it last July, I've been debating how I want to present that series. So that series may work in a couple of different ways. It, instead of being a podcast initially, it may be a stream that's turned into a podcast. So in other words, we may do weekly streams, which we then turn into the weekend podcast. And because it's easy enough to convert video into audio with the tools that we have available to us. And then you wouldn't edit it as much. It would be a lot more, a lot more loosey-goosey. You get a lot more behind the scenes stuff because of that. But we would try and keep it tight and try and keep it simple. It would be an hour-long episodic thing that would go out on a Wednesday or a Monday or something along that line. And it would go on through the progression to try and get to that series. And like I said, if we're doing that, then it would, have a limited run. It wouldn't be running all year long. It would probably run only 6 months max. So I would probably start it in the fall and end it in the winter, or possibly as late as the spring, because I think that's a good time frame for series like that. I think you run into losing track of the audience, and for me, losing track of the story if you go longer than that with seasons. And then you take breaks and then you come back to it. So that's kind of the thinking behind that. I don't know how we'll present it yet. We still haven't got that far. I'm still working my way through it. There will be some different people involved for sure. I know one name is familiar to you all if you listen to podcasts with us, but has never been on a Fate episode of any variety on this channel. And so they'll be a fun addition. I think that's something I can say also about Fate of Heroes this year. We're going to have someone new who's never been on any of our podcasts. So that'll be fun. And hopefully we'll continue to do that kind of thing, because I think it's helpful to have new people to continue to bring in interesting, different RPG people, people who are experienced, some people who aren't, and kind of have them participate, because I think that gives us a level of different voices and different ideas and different character development. And I've already talked to the person about their character, and their character sounds a lot of fun, so we'll have to see how it all goes. The other thing about Fate of Heroes this year, we will have all of our crew, I believe, will be back, save maybe one. There may be an issue which might come up for them, but they might be in the first recording session at least. So they'll be in a few episodes anyway. But if that's the case, you guys will know well before the series starts. I won't hold that from you. We've lost a few people over the few years that we've done the series, but I can say that we got some surprises coming this year. As it is the last season, you can expect some names to come back and some people to come back. So at least for an episode or two, if nothing else. And so there's lots to look forward to, lots of changes coming. Where we'll be next year at this time, as far as all of the podcasts and everything, I don't even know at this stage. But I think it's been lots of fun, and I hope you guys are enjoying the series, and I hope you'll continue to listen, and I hope you'll continue to be a part of our family. We appreciate your feedback, we appreciate your comments, and we appreciate you being there for us as friends and as listeners. And certainly your consideration of us is something we much appreciate. So that is just something I wanted to share with you and let you know that, we got lots of plans coming up. The podcast will not stop putting out weekly podcasts. It may change from time to time as to what those podcasts are, and there may be additions like Cloud City Council here and there. Like I would expect we might have another episode of that next year, possibly when the Clone Wars starts up season 7, possibly just for episode 9. These will be sort of special ones. They're a lot of fun to do. I always enjoy doing stuff with Alan and Rob. They're awesome to work with. They're great people. And I don't do enough stuff with Alan. And to be honest with you, over the last year or so, I haven't done enough with Rob. So it'll be great to have him kind of back in the fold this year with Fate of Heroes. So there's, like I said, there's a lot of things changing, but a lot of things getting better. And I think you'll really enjoy the Supernatural podcast coming. And I think you'll really enjoy the new series by Tamara. I think it sounds as crazy as you might imagine. So get ready for that. And we'll be back. I think the first Fate of Heroes thing that you may even hear might be the recording at the live stream. So if that's the case, I hope you're excited for that. I think it'll be plenty fun. If we do it that way, it'll be non-canon, or at least it'll be something away from the story in season 4, because of season 4 is a very serious season. As you could probably tell by the end of season 3, things have gone a little awry. So that is something we wanted to kind of keep in our pocket for y'all. But yeah, so I'm going to slap the Fate of Heroes logo on this particular episode so you can see what the new logo is like if you get your podcast with the new covers each time I change them. And then next week will be all about Supernatural. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Please be sure to check us out on distractionsmedia.com. Leave us a 5-star review if you have Apple iTunes and you have the podcast app there. It does help people to find us, and we're desperate to get more people to listen to what we're doing, because we feel like we're doing something that people can appreciate, and we want to spread the love as much as we can. And until next time, everyone, thank you all for listening. Sorry for the shorter episode. Wasn't my intention, like I said. But we will get back and we will do that deep dive with M sometime in the future. It may not happen till next year, but if we can, we will definitely try and get it done. So until next time, everyone, take care. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of your summer. Bye.
This has been a Distractions Media production. For more info, you can check out everything we do on distractionsmedia.com.